Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In last class, we have seen that the first part of nature of learning, and today we are going to make another video on the same topic. Here we will be discussing learning curves. So let's begin. Learning curve is a graphical representation or simply a curve which shows how learning takes place in a particular situation. Normally, like any graphical representation, this curve is also having two axes, x and y. In x, we consider practice or time, and in y, we consider the amount of learning takes place. The first person who described these kind of learning curves was Hermann Ebbinghaus. It occurred in 1885. In 1934, Arthur Bills gives more detailed description on learning curves. When we analyze the stages of a learning curve, or generally when we analyze a learning curve, we can see that normally the beginning is a period of slow progress. Then there would be another period of rapid progress which leads to no apparent progress or plateau. Then again there would be a sudden rise. Then again we can see another plateau. So in this first stage, period of slow progress, a person is starting to learn something new. So he might be facing so many difficulties, and since he is starting from the scratch. And the case of rapid progress, with time, he is being an expert of the learning or the area in which he studies. So here the learner's output rises rapidly. Then there's a period where there is no serious progress, no recorded progress. So let's consider anyone's, maybe the brightest students or the weakest students learning curve. Then you may confront with these kind of a period where no apparent progress is. This is called plateau, learning plateau. Then again, there would be a sudden rise. There would be a spurt in achievement. And this is called period of sudden rise. Then towards the end, we can see that the learning will be slowing down to an extent where there is no period of improvement, or so it basically happens because of the physiological limit. Actually, this is called physiological limit. So this is the 5 stages of learning curve. Period of slow progress, then period of rapid progress, no apparent progress, sudden rise, and leveling. What are the characteristics of a learning curve? So there would be various up and downs, though there is a general acceleration. So over a period of time, the rate of learning would be going up. But there will be a period where the student, the learner studies so hard and there is a lot of acceleration in the process of learning. For example, if you are having an exam on Monday, then of course the rate of learning on Saturdays and Sundays will be high. But if you're having an exam in the month of March, then in Jan there won't be any progress at all. So that would be kind of learning plate. But when the teacher will be teaching the topic in December, then you can see first student is feeling like, okay, there's an initial slow progress. Then again, if the teacher is telling like, okay, you are having an exam on next day, then there will be sudden rise. Then again, up to your exams, main exams, there won't be any kind of, we won't even touch it. Okay, there won't be any kind of revisions. So there would be several up and downs in this learning curve. And at the final stage, when you master the topic, or when there is nothing to be left to study, there's nothing left to study, there won't be very there won't be any kind of learning, or there will be little learning or no learning at all. So, but as I mentioned, after plateau or stationary phase, you can see that there would be some improvements with spurts. So this is like when you're not studying for a long, then you will have a kind of, oh, I haven't studied at all, my exams are approaching, then you will study. So this is a kind of pattern you see. Maybe some ups, some downs. So that is how a learning curve occurs. Then what are the things it depends on? What are the things which influence a learning curve? Of course, the first thing is nature of learner. Whether when he wants to study, what's the level of his motivation, or what is his physical and mental condition. Everything depends on the amount of things he learns. And second one is task. So if you're giving a task or the lesson which is not making any curiosity in the learner, then there won't be any learning. Or if you're giving a complex topic to a learner without considering her or his intellectual capabilities and interest or motivation, then again the amount of learning takes place will be very low. Then how much time is available? Are you providing adequate time for the learner to grasp the topic? Next one is, what are the conditions? It includes the emotional and physical environment. If you are making the learner to sit in a noisy classroom, or maybe let's say in a bus stand, public place, or in front of a TV, and if you are expecting him to learn, then it won't take place. So as a teacher and as a parent, it's very important to make sure that the learner is provided with such a condition which enhances or motivates his learning. Now, what are the type of learning curves? So there are three types of learning curves generally. There are so many, but we are discussing concave, convex and edge-shaped, three types. The first one is concave, and the second one is convex typed, and third one is edge-shaped. It's also known as concave convex graph curve. So we'll be seeing the next slide in detail. In the concave curve, you can see that here there's a slow initial improvement, but with time, but with practice, the learner is studying so hard, revising so hard. So by practice, the learning increases. Normally it occurs when we are giving a new topic or a kind of difficult topic to the learner, because initially he's not grasping the concepts, initially he's struggling, then he masters. So with practice here mastery can be attained. And this is a positively accelerated curve. You can see that this slope is a positively accelerated curve. It is increases, learning is increasing over the time. And it is having a concave shape, see. And when it is convex, then how would be the graph shape is like? It will be inverted, right? So in convex curve, the rapid initial improvement, there will be rapid initial improvement, there will be growth, there will be you can see a visible progress in students learning, but it gradually slows down. That means a simple topic, or maybe the learner is having some experience in the field, so he is learning so fast, and then again he achieves or attains the mastery, and then there is very little learning. This type of curve is called converse curve. And normally all the students in our class, even ourselves, will be having X-shaped curve. So this kind of combination of concave and convex. So as you can see, there's a concave and then it becomes convex. So here it's a new topic. So gradually we are attaining the mastery. Then there won't be kind of any progress after attaining a level, reaching a level. So this shape, if you look at the graph, you can see it's more like a letter S. So this curve is either known as H-shaped curve or concave convex curve. Then why we need this learning curve as a teacher or as an individual? We can analyze our pattern of behavior when it comes to studies. So as a teacher, we can cater the individual differences in learning by analyzing different students' learning graphs. And according to the individual differences, we can improve the methods of learning. We can either go for ICT, audiovisual tools, or maybe we can give them a lab experience. So we can choose different methods of learning basically, and we can design appropriate aids. And then of course, as a teacher and a student, you can analyze your own graph and even your fellow companions graph or fellow students graph, and then you can make a self appraisal. And then we can also predict the characteristics of a student, of a personal traits of a student. Okay, suppose we are seeing a Plato after Saturday and Sundays, after weekends, then we can of course it gives a conclusion that in the weekends the student is not at all touching his book. Or maybe if you are seeing there's a pattern where the student scores after the final examination, maybe for the final examination, not in class test and all, then also it gives the personal trait of the student. And of course it is a tool for comparison. That's why some teachers tell us, oh, you are too good at last term and now you are not. What happened? So these kind of questions comes from analyzing the learning curve. Then learning Plato. So as a teacher, he would be very much anxious or curious about the learning Plato of the student, because this is the period where no learning occurs. So it's a long flat horizontal stretch. It's a long flat horizontal stretch which is parallel to x-axis in the learning curve. So it's a stationary stage. You can see there is no further progress. So as a student and the teacher and the parent, they will be more anxious about the learning curves. So how can we help the students to overcome the stationary phase, and how can we motivate the student to have more learning? So that's the next question. For analyzing this question, we need to know the causes of Plato. Why it happens? Is it because of the poor method of learning? Is he studying properly, or maybe is he using the right tools to study? These kind of things comes to poor method of learning, or is he paying real attention in the class? So all these questions comes. Then complexity of learning material. Okay, am I providing too much complex information to a student? And if you're teaching imaginary numbers to a first standard student, then it will be very difficult for him to understand. So, as a teacher, it's our responsibility to break down the complexity and make it so simple according to their mental and intellectual age. And then it comes to a conflict of previous learning with new learning. For example, it comes to another topic like positive and negative transfer of learning, but still let's discuss it here in a simple word. So if a student is using his left hand to write for a long time and suddenly you are making him to write with right hand, then there's a conflict with his previous experience and new experience. Or if a student is using a wrong pronunciation for a word and then you're telling like no this is wrong. For example, for umbrella, if the student is pronouncing umbrella, and the student will be needing some time to grasp the new sounds or new way of pronunciation. So if the new learning material is conflicting with the previous one, yes, then there may be a confusion and which causes the learning plateau. And unfavorable environment, it may be the classroom or it may be the home where he studies. So if there is any conflict between the parents, or if the child is being isolated in the classroom, or the teacher is being very rude with the child, or even the physical environment, if he's coming from a uh, poor financial background, or if he's not having a proper room to sit and study, all these contributes to unfavorable environment. So for the teacher, it's a duty or it's his duty to make sure that at least the child gets a positive environment in the class. And of course, he or she can talk to the children's parent and ask them to create a good environment for the child to study. And physical and emotional illness of the learner. When someone is having a fever, of course, he can't study. So we have to provide a proper period of rest. And the next thing is like emotional illness. When a child is going through a breakup, or maybe when he loses one of his parent, or maybe a close family member, all these things can cause some emotional burden in the child. And of course, he won't be able to deliver the same progress when it comes to learning. Then it is distraction and lack of attention. Again, distraction can be in different levels. Sometimes, maybe, especially when you look at high school students, in 9th class students, you have seen that they're highly distracted due to their newly found, changes in adolescence, or maybe because of their peer group. And that's the time actually when you convert 8th, 9th, 10th students. Normally 9th standard students will be having more deviations and more distractions than 8th and 9th. Oh, sorry, 8th and 10th. In 10th they'll be highly motivated because they know there will be public examination at the end of the year. So this kind of distraction, lack of attention in the class and even in the society, the teacher should be seriously addressing the issue. So, but in a good way that it won't cause any emotional damage to the children. So, if you found them playing Ludo or something in the class, then you can give a tool which is more like a game to the particular student. As a teacher, it is very important for a person to eliminate the learning plateaus observed in the students. So, what are the things we can do to eliminate these learning plateaus? The first one is organizing materials and methods. So, when we are preparing the lesson plan or when we are teaching the class, you have to organize all your materials in a perfect order. As we know, we start from the facts to concepts, then to principles and theories. In the same way, even when we are giving the materials, you should make the simpler ones first and then to the complex one. Or start from the portion which is familiar to the child and then increase the complexity. Similarly, we can use a lot of audiovisual tools to make the lesson more interesting and simpler. As a teacher, one should ensure that the children are interested in the class. You can use different levels of stimulants, different variants, but at the same time, you can make the class more interesting and more children oriented one. You can call their names and you can talk to them in person while giving the works, and you should make sure every children get that personal attention to stay motivated and interested. At times, after class test and all, you can provide them some simpler gifts just like a chocolate or a pen or a book. And when you take the classes also, one should be very keen to give them proper breaks. Maybe when you take a longer class, it may exceed the attention span of the kid. So the kid after some time won't be able to focus on what you teach. So it's very important to give them proper break, and even between the classes you can offer some rest or some relaxation techniques so that they keep focused when you teach them. Without these proper breaks, without this kind of rest, children won't be able to stay attentive in your class. And the next thing is like you should tell the children why they need to learn this topic. You should acquaint the learner with clear goals and aims. I have seen some teachers telling before introducing the portion itself, children, I just want to tell it's very important topic and will be asked in the examination. So these kind of dialogues made us focused while teacher is delivering the lectures. And maybe you can tell them if you're learning this, then it's very helpful even in your life. Or you can make the class problem oriented one, like you can make them think in a problem solving way with respect to their life situations. Or you can tell them if you qualify this thing or if you learn this thing, I'll be giving you this. Or if you want to become a teacher, if you want to be a maths teacher, you should know this. Or if you want to if you're teaching them physics, acceleration and all these things, then you can tell the naughty boys in the class or naughty girls in the class, if you want to learn how to drive the car, then you should know this. So make some dialogues or give them some proper goals or aims. Maybe even it is not a longer even it is not a longer terms, you can use the shorter term goals and aims to make the children interested in your class. And arouse and maintain interest. So we have seen that when we deliver or when we plan the introduction, we make a lot of efforts to gain children's interest. But when you start the class, it is noted that many of us lose the interest while delivering the lecture, many of them. So it is very important to use different kind of stimulus to gain their attention throughout the class or maintain their attention throughout the class. And as a teacher, one should be very keen to induce a better learning environment. And it can be in terms of peer energy, or it can be in terms of, you can cut down the extra noises in the class, maybe the surroundings, and maybe also you can make the more kind of friendly atmosphere, etc. And the will or the character of the children should not be questioned throughout the class. Whatever they say, you should take it in a very positive way. And even when some people are irritating you during the classes, or they are making the noises also, you should be understand that you are a teacher and it's your duty to make them interested. It's not their duty. So even learner has their own responsibilities, but a good learning environment will always makes the learner more interested in the class. And you can't expect all the children to be the same. So it's very important to consider individual differences, the background they are coming from, and their intellectual level, their emotional level, and their physical capabilities, their interest, everything will be different. So while delivering a lecture, while performing a class, while performing a lab, you should keep that fact in your mind. Always consider the individual difference. When someone is not good at maths, they might be good at biology or something else. So never use any kind of dialogues which hurts the core of a student.